Good evening. Thank you all for staying so late. I really appreciate it, and believe me, I've been here a long time too. My main reason to be here tonight is healthcare. I'm a woman, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I'm a nurse, and I'm an activist. And I've been doing healthcare-related things and women-related things and children-related things for years and years and years. Way back when Planned Parenthood just opened its building on Point Street. So that was a long time ago. And I can't believe I'm still here fighting the same damn battle. You know, women have a right to equal protection under the law according to the U.S. Constitution. Women have a right to equal protection under the law, as far as I know, under the Rhode Island Constitution. So my problem with the with this bill having to come up again has more to do with that 7340 has a lot more to do with the fact that, again, I started being an activist when I was 15 years old. You don't want to know how many years ago that was. It's sad, but the alternatives kind of stink, so I'll go with it. However, I have to say that I've been doing this for so long, and I'm a lot older, possibly wiser, although there are a few who might disagree. I had my first kid in 1970, second one in 74, and my last two in 78. My choice, the choice I made every single time, was to have my children. Abortions were safe and legal in New York in 1970. It was a quick train ride. Had anybody that wanted to would have, lots of people were willing, if I wanted to go to New York. I chose not to. With each pregnancy, I chose to have my children, and it was my choice as an individual. You gentlemen in particular, the women on the panel, a little bit different because they're more like me, but you gentlemen in particular need to understand that the right to your bodies, your personal right to your bodies, has never been questioned. There isn't any law that says that if you masturbate, you can go to jail because you're killing babies, potential babies. And that's what they're. Sperm, you need sperm and an egg for a baby. Okay? Babies actually aren't babies till later in a pregnancy. Initially, they're zygotes. Zygotes just mean cells, a bunch of cells. And yes, they're coming together and they're forming, but a human baby, a chicken, a pig, and a monkey at 8 weeks, you can't really tell the difference. And that's true. That's way back when I was doing my nursing training, that's what they taught us. And I'll have to check on the weeks because it's been a long time since I've investigated that particular issue. But every child, to my mind, every child is the most precious gift that humankind can give itself. Every child is humankind's way of longing for itself to continue the species, to continue humans as we know us to be, and it seems rather backward, I guess, to say that women who, from ancient times until around the Reformation, when men started getting involved in maternity and pregnancies and healthcare, it was all women's work before that. And it was after those kinds of things happened, the political reformations, and we were all still over in Europe. The only people in the United States of America at that point were the Native Americans, or the natives, shall we say. And it really seems ridiculous that we would go backward on healthcare. It would be great to go backward to the point where women took care of women through pregnancy and all that stuff, but that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, some of us do, some of us don't. But men cannot get pregnant. Men do not understand, really, truly, deeply, soulfully understand what it is to carry a baby to term. You have no idea. And it can be the most wonderful, positive thing in the world. And in my case, it has been. But it can also be very, very heartbreaking. For instance, the woman who talked about the missed pregnancy. She was delighted. She and her husband were thrilled that they were going to have a baby, and their hopes and dreams were dashed. So yeah, I felt for her. I feel for anyone, mother or father, who loses a child. Representative Perez told me personally about his situation. And while I didn't necessarily get all the details, I got enough to know that there was some questionable lack of action on certain healthcare providers' points. Because at the very least, I know that any nurse I know would have at the very least put a blow-by mask by that child so it wasn't struggling for breath at 21, 22 weeks of gestation. And that's just comfort. That has nothing to do with life or death. It's simply comfort for something that is struggling. And so, yeah, I believe he has a legitimate gripe, and he has a legitimate reason, in my opinion, to sue. But, I don't do that, so maybe he doesn't feel that he should do that either. However, to get back to the healthcare stuff and the equal justice for all, I need to remind you guys, all of you, and please remind your colleagues who've had to leave, that this state in particular, was founded by Roger Williams as the lively experiment, blah, blah, blah. We all know the quote. But we need to remember that Rhode Island was the very first state to declare its independence from Great Britain or the British Empire. We have to recall that it was Rhode Island burning the HMS Gaspee that was the actual first act of war against the British Empire. And it was also Rhode Island was the last state of the original 13 colonies, the last colony, to sign the Constitution. And the reason is because, as Rhode Islanders, our representatives at the time insisted on freedom of religion and freedom from religion as well, because it's of, therefore it's freedom to or freedom not to, as you choose, and to each their own. I have no problem with any of it. But I want you to remember that each and every one of you, as state representatives, state legislators, have put aside, or were supposed to have put aside, while you sit there and make laws, put aside your particular personal religious practice, dogma, teachings, etc., because you've decided to make law for this state. So I want you to please, every one of you, pay very close attention to that fact. We are not a country founded on any religious belief. We are not and should not be bound by any particular religious belief or faith belief. But we should pay attention to equity and fairness and equality. I, as a woman, do not feel equal to any of you gentlemen because I do not have the same rights to my body as you guys do. And I repeat a line from a former colleague of mine who spoke at a benefit. Not every sperm deserves a name. Just don't. Sorry. 100,000 sperm in one ejaculation, give me a break. No woman can carry that many babies. So really and truly, just be fair. Support 7340. Give women the right to protect their own bodies. And Representative Vella Wilkinson, I understand, and I'm not exactly against your bill, and I do appreciate the willingness to be more precise in the wording and such. But I would like to just mention that any person not related to a minor who brings them across state lines for any purpose is breaking the law. So trafficking of children, if any group, Planned Parenthood or any other, finds a young child that is the potential, they need to bring in the police there and then, when it can be caught, and when the child can be protected and not re-trafficked, because that does happen, and it happens to way too many. And here in Rhode Island, I left and moved away for about 10 years, and the only place worse for the sex trafficking of children that I am aware of is the state of New Mexico. And it's immigrant children that are being trafficked. And it's little kids. It's 6-year-olds. And so I agree with what you're trying to do, but I think there are better ways. And I don't think it has to have anything to do with medical procedures in any way, shape, or form. I think there's a lot better way to write that bill. Thank you.
Shannon, any questions? Representative Flippin.
Just a brief comment. I've heard the statement a lot that politicians can't let their religious beliefs inform their legislative choices, and I've just never found support for that in any text from the state's founding or our country's founding. I think it's pretty clear that
Have you read?
to hold forth a lively experiment that a most
Yeah,
flourishing
the whole
civil state
yeah, exactly.
best be maintained with full liberty and religious concernments. Yes, I've read that, and I know that line, but I don't see anywhere where people can't use their morality that religion informs when making a decision on policy, and I just never seen it. And if someone has a text, send it to me. I think it's pretty clear that people out everywhere have free religious autonomy, and government shouldn't be involved in religion. But I don't see
Neither
any.
should religion be involved in government, especially in the state of Rhode Island.
So if I'm not particularly religious, I have a moral code, which
me too.
I bring when I decide on legislation. Now, some of my colleagues may be particularly religious, and their moral code is informed by religion. Are they supposed to exclude their moral code because it's informed by religion when mine is formed on philosophy?
What, as an elected representative, is supposed to do is put aside their personal beliefs and represent the people that voted them into office. That's the job. So, yeah, that's what I believe.
Understand. We don't agree, but I
That's
understand
okay.
your position.
We can agree to disagree. No problem.